It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to off-season episode number 1. Nielson and Gazzola with you a week from the beginning of the postseason. From the postseason. Here we are, Tommy, locked in and ready to go at it again in the off-season. The Oil Stream is brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, and maybe by early July, no restrictions, so you can go out and hang out inside a Popeyes for 4 hours if you wanted, just to get caught back up on your Popeyes sitting time, Tommy.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, people be so excited to do anything that maybe
do
that
they
happens.
have the play area at least? I mean, I haven't seen one with a play area to warrant
they
the
don't.
4 hours. But I mean, let's talk to Kyle Furby. If those of us out there really miss hanging out at restaurants, let's get the play area concept going again for Popeyes.
I'll go anywhere for a party once we're allowed to again, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to people in person again. I mean, it's great seeing you guys at the rink. I'm like, oh my God, other people that aren't my family. What is
Come up
this?
and like poke you, like, are you a human? Are you flesh and bones right here?
Yeah. Hang on, I need to put you on mute. In real life,
exactly.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
You're standing around a group conversation at the rink and Rashad starts blabbing about something. You just go, mute.
Mute, please, Ryan. I don't need to hear this.
All right, we do have lots to get to. And, I mean, from a Oilers content perspective, this is a great offseason for us. I mean, there's so many significant things that we'll be able to discuss. Ken Holland gave us a few more today from his availability, so we'll dive into that a little bit. And once again, the Oil Stream brought to you by our friends at Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Tommy, but let's start with something serious for a second. I hop on Twitter last night and I see Ethan Bear's name's trending, and I'm like, people are still on Bear for the turnover. And look, I know even sometimes people think we're too critical for hockey players for what they do on the ice. And I always feel like they get paid millions of dollars. That's their job. If they screw up, we're going to call them out. That's fine. So I click on the link and then I see what's going on with racism. And I'm like, are we serious right now? Like, you don't think this guy's dealing with enough right now after the way this series ended that he has to hop online and people are sliding into DMs and things like that, dropping racial slurs at him. Like, I'm naive in a lot of these situations. You know how, I mean, I've lived a very protective life, Tommy. So it just blows my mind that people can be such assholes to other individuals. So for Ethan Bear to have to put up with that, it's just, and look, there's been great community support. Obviously, Twitter, you don't even really see any of the comments because they've all been directed towards Ethan Bear and, in private ways. But and I know it's such a small amount of people, but it just is such a bad look for everybody. It drives me crazy.
Yep. Disgusting, reprehensible, all of those terms that unfortunately we need to use again in another scenario like this in situation where it pops up. Listen, if you're going to critique Ethan Bear, critique his play. That's well within the rights of every fan out there. Sure. Okay. But like, in terms of getting into the race stuff, absolutely ridiculous. And that has nothing to do with how he plays the game of hockey, the type of person he is. He is an outstanding young man. And this isn't just for Indigenous athletes. This goes for Black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. South Asian, it doesn't matter. Like, why would you go to that? Why is that your thing? And it just highlights and underscores shitty people. And I want to say I'm surprised, Dustin Nielson, but I'm not, because in the last 2 years,
that's the worst thing, right? Like, that's the worst thing about it, man.
In the last 2 years, a lot of shitty people have become the loudest people, and it's disgusting. And we don't support it. Obviously, you and I are completely against it here on the Oil Stream. Be better to those who did it. And I don't care if it was alcohol fueled, drug fueled, or you're just raging. It's unacceptable. It's disappointing we have to even bring this up, but it's an issue. And he is one of the nicest young men, outstanding young men you'll meet. And he does a lot for his community back in Ochapowace in Saskatchewan. And to attack him for his race and who he is and where he comes from is completely wrong.
I just don't know how miserable people must be to go and do something like that. Like check your own life before you start going after somebody else's. It's just pathetic. But
yes.
Anyway, we wanted to get that out of the way first, show our support for Ethan Bear, because nobody should have to go through that. And yeah, it's obviously been a tough few days for Ethan Bear, and hopefully everything works out well for him moving forward. But yeah, garbage. All right. The other big story here obviously is Kenny Holland today, and his avails are something else, man. You could ask I saw somebody already in the comments section say, I hope Kenny Holland stops talking in time to go sign somebody at free agency. It's great, because a lot of times in sport, it's like there's a happy medium somewhere, and you've got lots of people who don't give you anything. And then you got Kenny Holland, who will give you something, but it takes like 40 minutes to get there. That's kind of what I was expecting. He's obviously got a lot of thoughts going on in his head. Yeah. I mean, everybody does right now. But Tommy, what'd you think of classic Holland today? I thought that was good.
Classic Holland. Well, he left it all out there like his team did on Monday night. So it was good. And you know what? He did drop some nuggets in there that were actually good information that we're going to use going forward, and we're probably going to chew on this episode of the Oil Stream, on further and subsequent episodes of the Oil Stream. But yeah, I mean, I had to text Daniel Nugent Hopkins, as he's now known as, on my phone. I'd say, listen, Daniel, I'm sorry, I love you, but you're not Nugent Bowman anymore. You're just Nugent Hopkins. With Daniel Nugent Hopkins. So it's an honest mistake.
It was good.
Yeah, he's trying to give a reporter credit for a question. There's some nuggets there that were good. Yes. And you could tell he's frustrated. It's almost like he's thinking as he's speaking too. And I appreciate that candor. We can laugh about it all. I appreciate it. And this comes on the heels of the era of Peter Chiarelli. He was just hard to gauge, hard to even deal with. He was nice enough because he had to be, basically, but he'd walk by you without blinking if you didn't say, hi, Peter, good morning. Mac T was great to deal with. Obviously, that was a rough time in Oilers history when he was the GM. And Steve Tambellini, the master of secrets, always looking over his shoulder, didn't give you much at all anyway. So I appreciate this type of GM and this type of candor, even though there's a lot of words that come out.
A few of the things that we'll discuss some things that he actually got to, some other offseason things that maybe he didn't dive into too much. One basically saying he wants to re-sign Mike Smith. He's going to meet with his agent in BC here in the next few weeks and see if they can get a deal done. And then that'll tie into maybe some buyout stuff that we'll get to in a little bit here with your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. But Tommy, just your thoughts on Kenny Holland making it. There was no, we'll see where we're at with the goaltending situation. I mean, he wants Mike Smith back. Your thoughts on him making that clearly obvious here, day 2 of the offseason?
Eliminates any debate going forward. We know that the mandate is to get Mike Smith back. And quite frankly, he, with his play, earned that right, Dustin Nielsen. He totally did. He's going to get some Vezina votes this offseason, certainly. And, age is just a number to him. I kind of hearken it back to when the Oilers let Dwayne Rollison walk and brought in Nikolai Habibulin. Habibulin was a couple of years younger than Rollison, but Habibulin's best years were well behind him. Rolly went on to play some good hockey for the Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning after that. So maybe, this is not correcting a mistake from the past, because Ken Holland was not even close to being here at that time. He's still in Detroit, obviously. But I think it goes back to that. You got something here in a goalie that proved to you he can do it at this age. And the question next year will be, well, A, can he stay healthy? B, can he sustain it for an 82-game season? And C, who might be the backup? And so I think now we're starting to get a clearer picture of the next few years between the pipes for the Oilers with that statement.
Couple places to go with this. We'll get to the backup in a second. McDavid Mania on Twitter here is saying 1.5 to 2 mil for Smith to come back. Tommy, what do you think the number is? Like, it's a year to year thing, I would think right now. I don't know if you're dropping 2 years on him, but is that like 1 year, 2 mil? Is like, do you think Mike Smith sells for that, or he says, hey man, I played my ass off last year and I got another year like that in me, I want 2.5? Like, how do you think that discussion goes, and where do you think the number makes it reasonable?
The somewhere around the 2 million, I think, is reasonable, especially given his age and all of that. He might ask for more. Remember, we've joked about him testing the free agent market because he had such a good year. He might ask for a little bit more, and then that's up to them to negotiate. Or there could be incentives in that contract, bonuses, all that. We've seen that in the last couple contracts he signed with the Oilers, and that might prop it up a little bit. But yeah, somewhere around that 2 million, I think that's totally reasonable. So that question from was that McDavid Mania?
Yeah.
Totally within reason. And if it's more than that, I would be very surprised. I don't think Mike Smith is out here to make monster money right now. I think he understands the market. He's a pretty sharp guy. So I think he understands where he kind of fits in.
On the backup conversation, I mean, Ken Holland did, and we'll discuss buyouts a little bit more in depth in a second, but Ken Holland did say a buyout is very likely. So I would think the top candidate for a buyout would be Mikko Koskinen. Is there a chance, and I see Mrazek's name popping up here and stuff. What are the chances, and I think it'd be a little risky, so I don't know where it would be at, but what are the chances it's a Smith-Stalock combination between the pipes next year? I mean, if we had a guarantee that they both be healthy the entire season, man, I might be okay with it after seeing how Mike Smith was this year, but at the same time, I'm not too sure if Mike Smith gets hurt, you want to roll with Stalock and Skinner or something like that.
Yeah, that Stalock Skinner thing doesn't sound too appetizing, but I think a Smith-Stalock combination is a upgrade over Smith-Koskinen. I really do. I'm not on the Valen Camus 920 train. I never have been. It became more abundant and clear this season. And, I know we'll get into the buyout thing, but I'll put the Smith-Stalock combination at 70%.
Okay, so you think maybe the most likely combination right now? Stalock's a good goalie. He won't have played a game in a year.
He won 20 games in 1920, Dusty. He won playoff games, or qualifying round games, which count in postseason. He's more than adequate. He's more than adequate, and I would be more comfortable with him. I like his mindset, level of competition compared to Mikko Koskinen's.
Like I said, I don't think that's the ideal situation. I think it's just one that we may have to come back to at some point, but we'll see what he does between the pipes. All right, let's get to your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, brought to you by Ken Morrison, realtor for 20 years, top 10 realtor in Remax excellence, Edmonton, top 100 Remax realtor in Western Canada. Visit his website at kenrmorrison.com, or you can give him a shout, 780-993-4815. Now is the time to buy. Now is the time to sell. Visit kenrmorrison.com. It is your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Tommy?
Can I just add something to the Ken R. Morrison lead up? Lumber is so expensive these days. You want to buy something that's already built, right? Like, don't go and buy a brand new home that you're going to have to build from the ground up with the lumber prices being what they are. Go see Ken.
Man, that lumber industry is really becoming the talk of the town lately. The
price of lumber. I had to say it.
It really impacts both of us, Tommy. You're doing a lot of lumbering. I'm doing a lot of lumbering. Yes. I mean, it's just how it works.
You should see me swing a hammer. The blood, the Italian blood just comes out and it comes to the forefront. All of a sudden, I just go into this like auto. It's like cerebral. I just know how to build a fence all of a sudden. No joke. I did it like 8 years ago at my buddy Gunther's place. We had to build a fence for him at his new home. And his cousin was as a construction worker. He's a carpenter, all that. And then you know who his number two was? Just because I knew how, it was in my blood. This guy.
Good for you. Good for you, buddy. I had no idea.
It was the fence turned out uneven, and I think it fell down last year, but I did it.
It was a good run for a bit. You felt pretty good about it that day. I like that. All right. Hey, that's more than I could accomplish with a hammer, man. I'll tell you that. All right. It is the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Give him a call, 780-993-4815. Ken Holland did mention buyouts are very possible. Tommy, the question is, will there be 2 or more buyouts for the Edmonton Oilers this year?
Okay, so we're saying that there's going to be one. I think one is sufficient. So I'll say no, there will not be 2 or more buyouts. Do we want to get into who we think it'll be?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, to me, there's 3 candidates. 3, not 4. And for me, the number 1 is Valin Camus, 920. I think with 1 year left on that deal, you just shed yourself of it, get this saga over and done with, improve your goaltending by having Stalock Smith. And that's to me the number 1 that could be an option. And then number 2 is James Neal in my books. I'll throw this wild card at you. Could it be Zach Kassian with 3 years left on his deal? I don't think so, but that's one I looked at. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, what would the numbers be on Kassian? Have we looked at it? Because I was dabbling around. I got sucked into this cap-friendly be a GM creator thing today, and I'll tell you, buddy, I think I could actually do a stream where I just have that page up and a little picture of me in the corner, and people would be in line being like, "Move this guy around and trade this guy over here." Like, it's crazy. But with the Neal buyout, so if James Neal is an option, it would be, I think, 1.99 for 4 years, right? So you'd save $4 million this year, $4 million next year, and then you'd be hit with the 1.99 for nothing for the final 2 years. And I know you don't want to be doing a bunch of buyouts here, but basically what it comes down to right now. If you think, and I'm on board I'm on board with you with Koskinen, I would think that's probably what happens, especially if they want to bring Smith back. But can you get a player for $4 million for the next 2 years that can impact your lineup significantly more than James Neal? I mean, that's basically what you're looking at here, right, Tommy? Like you're getting rid of Neal for 6. You got to keep 2 of his. If you can go get another player for 4 that can come in and be a significant upgrade on James Neal, then and you feel like you got to get going here in the next 2 years, then I would understand why they would do it. Do you think that's possible? Do you think you find a guy for $4 million that can have a bigger impact on your team than James Neal? Because I think you definitely can.
I think the answer is yes. But the other thing I look at with James Neal is, I know you don't like the contract. I know you don't like the couple years left on it. But is there enough of a player there to contribute every second game or play every second game? Something along those lines. Can you squeeze one more year out of the Neal contract and that player before you say, all right, he can't play anymore in the National Hockey League? Because he was coming off a very good 1920. And this past year, COVID hit him. It hit him hard. He didn't recover. He was having struggles getting back to playing shape or having his lung capacity, game speed, all that stuff. You know what I mean? And he came on a little bit later on in the season where he looked decent. So if you want to weigh it and go, well, I don't want to be paying this guy or have this buyout on my cap for the next, 6 years or would it
4
be
years?
6?
It'd be 4 years.
4 years, pardon me. Yeah, you want to minimize the amount of years left on that. That's why I think the Koskinen buyout is more likely because it's just 2 years?
Just a year, yeah.
Instead of the
2
one.
years total, yeah.
So you try to get another year out of Neal. You put him on third, fourth line when he does play. And then you revisit the buyout thing a year later or something like that. The question to me with Neal is there still enough of a player there to try to squeeze out one more year from that contract?
Well, with what we saw this year, the answer is no. Like, I don't, but is there an off season and, a good healthy stretch for James Neal that changes that? Then maybe. But if you can get Blake Coleman for $4 million, why would you not do that? I mean, buyout Neal, sign Coleman for $4 million. Yeah, you have to deal with Neal at $2 extra mil for 2 years at the end of it, but the cap will be going up probably within 3 years, right, Tommy? Like, I would think they're going to try to hammer as much revenue as they possibly can. So it's not ideal. I know some people don't want to do it, but I think if you're gonna buy somebody else, same with Koskinen. You got to have a plan to take advantage of all that cap space. That's the only reason you're doing it. You're not going to buy out James Neal and sit there with $3 million in cap space at the end of the year. So
no, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You know what's funny too, Dusty? they paid for Benoit Pouliot this year. They paid 2.5 for Andre Sekera. That drops down to 1.5 next year. They've got Lucic that they're still picking up $750,000 on for a couple more years. But just looking at that cap friendly today, when you're looking at buyout options and just double checking all the contracts left over, you're like, man, they're still paying Pouliot. This is the last year. Those are ghosts of bad contracts of the past, and you don't want those to linger. And I think that's a good example of that with that Pouliot deal.
They also played Kyle Turris this year. Sorry, Kyle Turris. What do you think?
Don't tell
happens
Matt
with Turris?
Cassian you said that.
Like, Turris was supposed to be the right shot third line center that stabilized things, and he ended up being a non-factor. He's just got another year left.
Yeah, maybe I was talking to Jim Matheson in the press box last week at game 1 or 2, and I think he said, why don't you try to get him to mutually agree to terminate the contract? But if you're a player and you're collecting big money, like, I think you're going to do everything to collect a nice extra $1 million on top of whatever Nashville's paying you from their buyout. So I don't know. Maybe they bury him in the minors. Maybe he has a good camp and plays a few decent games. But yeah, that's not a good one. That one blew up in their face a little bit.
Yeah, that one didn't work out at all, not whatsoever. All right, Tommy. So free agency is going to be a big one, and we got a ton of time to discuss it here over the next little while. But the other thing I do find interesting, well, two things. Klefbom. Ken Holland said they probably won't know what's happening until September with Oscar Klefbom. How much does that throw a wrench again into your offseason? I mean, I would like to know one way or the other here. That's got to be, I mean, unless they kind of do know what's going to happen and they're just saying they won't know until September. But if they legitimately are going into the offseason blind on what's going to happen with Klefbom again, that's tough.
I don't think they're blind on it, though, because he was here for a while and he was working with the athletic team from the Oilers, rehabbing the injury. And then his last availability, this is a guy that doesn't really lie and doesn't like to put up facades or anything like that. And
he's actually one of the better interviews, isn't he?
Very much so. He's very candid. And that's appreciated. And he kind of said, I'd like to get back to playing. So it seems like he's going towards putting himself in a situation where he'll return to action, or at least try to. And I think that kind of gives the Oilers a bit of an indicator as to where it's going to go so they can properly game plan. Now, they might have a big board with different scenarios and say, okay, Klefbom returns, Klefbom doesn't return. What do we do here? What do we do here? I'm sure they're planning that out, because if they didn't, that would be foolish not to. But it looks like the intention is for Oscar Klefbom to give it a shot. And there was a great article in The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford wrote a few months ago, about Vladimir Tarasenko returning from shoulder issues. And he had 3 shoulder surgeries in a small period of time. And they said, this is it. If he's not good enough by this 3rd surgery, he's going to have to retire. And it looks like it's working out for him. So I don't know if it's the exact same injury and the same types of complications that Klefbom's had with his shoulder issues. But if it's any indicator with a guy that's a high-end player that's dealt with shoulder stuff very recently, kind of similar to what Oscar Klefbom's going through, this might be it as well for Oscar Klefbom. And we'll see how his body reacts.
All right. And then free agency, obviously the big one when you got this much cap space. But I think what you set the odds at 70% that there could be a Smith Stalock coming next year. What would you set the odds at that Ken Holland actually pulls the trigger on a deal to address one of these significant needs?
I could see a trade happening. Percentage wise, 75-80%. That maybe he gets ahead of it, because I talked to you on the Nielsen show, Smash Hit show on our
very
station.
Successful program. Very successful program.
Your acting skills have progressed immensely, and Monday's Tales of the North was phenomenal. But I think that maybe he tries to get ahead of it in terms of his logjam of solid defensive prospects, and maybe he moves one of them to become an asset up front. That's just my guesstimate. And it only makes sense. And you really hope that, you look at the situation in Anaheim where they had all those great defensemen and too many that could play, but not enough spots for them to play, that they lost Shea Theodore, Brandon Montour, Vatanen had to go, and they kept Cam Fowler, who's a really good defenseman. They've got Josh Manson, who's a really good defenseman, but all of a sudden their blue line doesn't look anywhere near as good. So it seems like a situation somewhat similar to that Anaheim dealt with. So you hope Ken Holland and the staff pick the right defenseman to keep moving forward in the next wave of Oilers defensemen.
Yeah, if there is a deal, well, we won't name names until later in the offseason, but if there is a deal, it's a D-man for a forward flip. I think it would have to be. I think that would make the most sense. All right, buddy, there we go. We are off and running on the off season. We'll be back on Friday with another episode of the Oil Stream. Make sure you subscribe to the Oil Stream podcast so you don't miss any of the off season extravaganza. It's going to be incredible. And the Oil Stream brought to you by our friends at Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, drive-through until the restrictions are lifted, and then you can be back in munching on one of those chicken sandwiches inside a Popeyes like we always dream about. Tommy, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, buddy. Good episode today, and we will catch up again on the end of the week. I'll chat with you on Friday, bud.
Hey, this shouldn't be this much fun, but it is.
See you later.